Sometimes, the words we use can come across as rude even if we don't mean them that way. Today, we're sharing 30 words that can make you sound rude so you can communicate more politely and effectively. Let's get started. But. Meaning, but is used to introduce a contrast or exception. Let's use it in a sentence. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to upset you. Why to avoid. Adding but after an apology sounds like you're making excuses, which weakens the sincerity of your apology. Keep it genuine without justifying your actions. If. Meaning, if is used to express a condition or possibility. Let's use it in a sentence. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. Why to avoid. Saying if implies that the other person's feelings might not be valid. It makes the apology seem insincere. Acknowledge the impact directly without conditions. Whatever. Meaning, whatever means anything at all, but it often sounds dismissive. Let's use it in a sentence. I said sorry, whatever. Why to avoid. Using whatever makes your apology sound careless and disrespectful. It shows a lack of genuine concern for the other person's feelings. Fine. Meaning, fine means acceptable or okay. Let's use it in a sentence. I'm sorry, fine, is that what you wanted to hear? Why to avoid. Saying fine in this context sounds passive-aggressive and insincere. It can escalate the situation instead of resolving it. Forget it. Meaning, forget it is a phrase used to dismiss a topic or suggest it's not worth discussing. Let's use it in a sentence. I said sorry, forget it, it's not a big deal. Why to avoid. Saying forget it dismisses the other person's feelings and minimizes the issue. It makes the apology seem insincere and can cause more frustration. Actually. Meaning, used to correct or contradict. In a sentence, I'm sorry, but actually, I didn't mean it that way. Why it's weak. It makes your apology sound defensive instead of sincere. Hopefully. Meaning, expresses uncertainty about the outcome. In a sentence, hopefully, you understand why I did that. Why it's weak. It shifts responsibility onto the other person rather than owning the apology. Soon. Meaning, an indefinite time frame for taking action. In a sentence, I'll make it up to you soon. Why it's weak. It lacks commitment, making it sound like an empty promise. Regret. Meaning, a formal expression of sorrow. In a sentence, I regret what happened. Why it's weak. It sounds impersonal and doesn't take full accountability. Mistake. Meaning, an error or unintentional act. In a sentence, it was just a mistake. Why it's weak. It can minimize the impact of your actions, making the apology seem dismissive. Obviously. Meaning, obviously means something is clear or self-evident. Let's use it in a sentence. Obviously, that's the right answer. Why to avoid. It can make others feel inferior, as if they should have already known what you're saying. Use more inclusive language to encourage open discussion. Actually. Meaning, actually is often used to correct someone or emphasize a fact. Let's use it in a sentence. Actually, that's not how it works. Why to avoid. It can come across as condescending, especially when frequently used to correct others. Try softer phrases like I think, to keep the tone friendly. Clearly. Meaning, clearly indicates something is easy to understand or obvious. Let's use it in a sentence. Clearly, I was the most qualified for the job. Why to avoid. It can sound dismissive of other perspectives, making you seem self-important. Instead, focus on facts without overstating. Whatever. Meaning, whatever means anything at all, often used dismissively. Let's use it in a sentence. Whatever, I know I'm right. Why to avoid. It shows disinterest or superiority, shutting down meaningful conversations. Stay engaged and respectful even in disagreements. Obviously. Meaning, obviously means something that is easily understood or recognized. Let's use it in a sentence. Obviously, I'm the best person for this. Why to avoid. Repeating this word can sound arrogant, as it implies others are not as knowledgeable. Use humble language to connect better. Frankly. Meaning, used to introduce a direct and sometimes blunt opinion. In a sentence, frankly, I don't think you know what you're talking about. Why it sounds arrogant. It can come off as dismissive or condescending, making others feel belittled. Presumably. Meaning, without a doubt, absolutely certain. In a sentence, Presumably, my idea aligns well with what the team needs. Why it sounds arrogant. It assumes correctness without verification, which can make you seem dismissive of other opinions. Indisputably. Meaning, impossible to question or challenge. In a sentence, indisputably, my experience makes me the most qualified for this role. Why it sounds arrogant. It suggests that your opinion or position is beyond debate, alienating others. Essentially. Meaning, used to emphasize the basic or most important aspect of something. In a sentence, essentially, I'm the one who made this project a success. Why it sounds arrogant. It can make it seem like you're taking all the credit and downplaying others' contributions. Everyone knows. Meaning, a phrase suggesting that something is common knowledge. In a sentence, everyone knows that my approach is the best one. Why it sounds arrogant. It assumes universal agreement, which can alienate those who have different viewpoints. Calm down. Meaning, calm down is used to tell someone to relax or reduce their emotional intensity. Let's use it in a sentence. You're overreacting, just calm down. Why to avoid. It can feel dismissive and invalidating, especially when someone is genuinely upset. Instead, try acknowledging their feelings with empathy. Normal. Meaning, normal refers to something considered typical or standard. Let's use it in a sentence. That's not normal behavior. Why to avoid. Labeling something as not normal can be offensive, as it implies judgment. Choose words that are more neutral, like uncommon or different. Crazy. Meaning, crazy describes something wild, irrational, or out of control. Let's use it in a sentence. That idea sounds crazy. Why to avoid. While often used casually, it can be hurtful, especially to those dealing with mental health issues. Opt for words like unusual or surprising instead. Lame. Meaning, lame is used to describe something as dull, boring, or uncool. Let's use it in a sentence. That party was so lame. Why to avoid. Originally referring to physical disabilities, its casual use can be offensive. Use alternatives like boring or underwhelming. OCD, used casually. Meaning, OCD stands for obsessive-compulsive disorder, a serious mental health condition. Let's use it in a sentence. I'm so OCD about keeping my desk clean. Why to avoid. Using OCD casually minimizes the real struggles of those with the disorder. Instead, say I like things organized or I'm very detail-oriented. Bossy. Meaning, dominating or giving orders in an overbearing way. In a sentence, she's so bossy when working on group projects. Why it can be offensive. It's often used negatively, especially towards women, to criticize assertiveness. Hysterical. Meaning, extremely emotional or out of control. In a sentence, she got hysterical over a small mistake. Why it can be offensive. It has historically been used to undermine and dismiss women's emotions. Exotic. Meaning, unusual, different, or foreign in an interesting way. In a sentence, you have such an exotic look. Why it can be offensive. It can make people feel like outsiders or reinforce stereotypes about cultural differences. Needy. Meaning, requiring a lot of attention or support. In a sentence, he's too needy in relationships. Why it can be offensive. It can belittle someone's emotional needs and struggles. Mature for your age. Meaning, more responsible or developed than expected for one's age. In a sentence, you're so mature for your age. Why it can be offensive. It can downplay someone's experiences and imply they had to grow up too fast. Quick tip. Being mindful of how words can be perceived helps create more inclusive and respectful conversations.